Sure.
If you look at life before there was the pill,
Mhm.
the pill for girls
Yeah.
to take to control their hormones. If you talk to any real body doctor, they would say the worst thing you could do with your life, which is everything they're pushing now, is to stop your hormones,
Of course.
the blockers, the puberty blockers, all that.
And to stop reproduction. Let's be clear on that too.
It's the single worst thing you can do for your body, because that immediately is high risk cancer. Immediately. I would love to see the stat, and I'm not going to say I've seen it.
Yeah.
Before birth control pill was presented, how much breast cancer was there compared to since the birth control? And then if you think about the whole women's rights and, hey, here's your birth control and it's your body, your choice. They sell the females and they sell the slogan and they empower them. And little do they know they're actually killing them. And they're junking them out. And now I got you, because in 20 years, your hormones can be changed again, but now they're all screwed up from the pill, and your cancer was waiting, and now it's ready to feed, because now your hormones are changing, and now the cancer's ready. Because you don't get breast cancer. People do get them when they're younger, but on the average,
it's rare.
You're talking 30 to 45 when the hormones are starting to change again. Well, guess what? You fucked them up when you started taking the pill and hormone blockers and all that stuff. And none of that is good for your system. And then what the classic junkie drug dealer does is the classic junkie drug dealer will give you the thing knowing they're going to be in business 10, 15 years from now and making a gazillion dollars. They're making money off you your whole life to keep you sick, to give you cancer. And then they come like the heroes. I got you.
Come in hospice. Yeah, come in hospice. We're going to take more of your money now. Come on.
But we're going to save your life, even though we created this horrifying death.
And they shove poison in you and they hope for the best, and no one I mean, it's probably possible, it's happened, but no one really recovers from that chemo. I mean, they can, but it's one of those things where there's always a natural way. There's a
natural way.
Always.
There's a natural way.
And there's always a way to find out what caused this, what started this, and is it too late? And you know what? I think there's sometimes it's not too late. But it's again, it's mind over matter. When a human being comes home from that doctor visit, then they were told they're going to die in 3 months. Man, you better have an intervention with that human being, because you got to get them out of that mindset now. Because
my wife
that can be permanent.
We were there with my wife. We were there. They said, you're not going to make it to the end of the year, and we just was like, no, we're gonna. And she never gave into it. We didn't give into it. And she's 7 years later, through all that stuff, but she eats really healthy. She's got a deep faith. Her energy is super. So
her cells are changing, her mind's changing, and everything can get back to normal. I'm telling you.
What you think feeds your body. When you see a miserable, and I could say this too, I've met people, God rest their souls. I would go to this little place in my town in Jersey, and there was one individual. I love talking to everyone. I love humanity. And I love lifting anyone and everyone's spirits up. If I can, they're willing to take what I offer.
Sure.
And this one individual would come in all the time, very angry, very bitter, always bitching, always. And everyone, I'm like, hey man, come on. He's like, make me laugh. Like, this one sucks, and my kid is a piece of crap, and a friend dad, and a sister-in-law. And I swear on my life, I knew in a matter of time, this guy's gonna get sick. Well, guess what? It was horrible. 2 years later, hey, did you hear about so-and-so? No. Oh, dude, he's got some bad. Hey, did you hear about so-and-so? No, he's gone. Oh, my God. But I can you can, when you're starting to be able to see that,
Yeah.
you know, and some people argue like, what about the good people that feel good and they die? You know, I don't, you know, you said something about your mom too, which one of the things that keeps me sane is the pain that you endured with your mother. If we go in a spiritual realm,
Yep.
I'm going to assume, because you said this is when I started this. This is when I started this production,
It
was
was
when
just
I
like
lost,
boom.
when this happened to my mom. And this is why people say, well, if there was a God, why would they do this?
For that,
I said,
for me to help change the world, there's things that have to
Because-
happen. I'm telling you right now, Jim, my mom would do it again.
well,
You'd go
not
through it
only
again.
that, but if you think of this, all right, let's use the movie Star Wars. Okay. When did Luke Skywalker really become powerful? When Obi-Wan was taken out. When Obi-Wan looked at Luke Skywalker, saw him looking, he knew he was his real father mentor. He knew he was his spiritual mentor, which was the father mentor. Yeah. Your father doesn't have to be your spiritual. He was the father spiritual mentor. And when he saw him and he sacrificed himself, he purposely lost the fight, knowing he'd be untouchable, physically untouchable, but spiritually more powerful.
Yeah.
On the other side to guide Luke into a higher realm. Your mom, my father, my sister, I feel them in such a power, almost like they're warriors at times. And I truly believe that is the conscience of being a warrior. They go to the other side to empower you, and that's where the dark side will either go for your the pity, the woe's me. Why don't you have a drink and wash your pain away? Why don't you stick to here, have some drugs for your anxiety and have some. No, but if you find the deeper spiritual level, not only will you be capable of healing yourself and cry and blah blah blah, when you get through that, you can become more powerful and listen to them guide you in a deeper way. You can't tell me you don't hear your mom's voice more and more today than you did when she was alive.
100%.
And we're not saying I want people's moms dead, but but the fact is, I feel my dad every day more than he was when he was here.
For sure.
It's amazing.
There's something about it that we can't deny. There's something.
No, and that's
why when people are like, when you die, nothing happens. I'm like,
they don't know. Yeah, how can you make a statement like that? Why would you know?
That statement, man.
It's a dumb statement. It's a reckless, thoughtless statement. You don't know what happens. You don't know.
Nobody does. Look, I like listening to everyone's opinion on death,
so do
afterlife. You know, you got the whole, kingdom of this. Okay, I've heard that one before, but I'll hear it. Then I'll hear theirs, and I'll hear theirs, and I hear some deep shit. Then you know, everyone's different. But the second someone goes, "Oh no, this is for sure," you're done. I don't want it for sure. Really, I mean, but to not,
you don't know,
for something happens. If you're not on that side of the boat, to me, there's something wrong with you.
Correct.
You go watch a flower grow. It's just all of nature to me.
Me too.
Proves to me that not only was this place designed and created for us, but this is temporary. We're in an avatar costume. We're in a temporary bodysuit, man.
We are spirits.
Yeah.
In the material we're spirits.
That's all cryptic for a reason, man. And you know what? Speaking of, we're gonna throw us. That's a Hollywood song. So let me open the door here. Hollywood, man. Obviously, you made some good films. You've sat.
One.
All right, relax.
One. Let's be honest.
Either way, well, Half Baked was one of the greatest of all time, so that gets a 3 film. You made 3 films in one because that's how good it was. But either way, I grew up with Saturday Night Live. So we saw you and stuff growing up, and it's one of those things where it's like, where's Jim been? I haven't seen anything he's in. And now, obviously, with the war going on and everything going on in the last couple of years, and we've been watching your bunker show and everything, I'm like, man, this guy's got it. But specifically, though, the first time that, again, of course, no names, not even a reference to help anyone, figure it out. But if you could share any moment where it hit you, man, you're like, there's some devilish stuff going on in Hollywood, man. There's some fucking, what the fuck is going on? I don't need names. I don't even need the set you were on. But do you remember that moment in life or anything surrounding that where you were like, something's off here?
There was a lot.
Something you can explain. Safe.
Saturday Night Live was when I started really seeing it, because I was rubbing elbows with the A-listers,
yeah,
the A-listers.
Of course.
And I saw the dog eat dog, and I saw the typical, I will steal material, I'll do anything to get to the limelight, and I saw that. I also saw it with families that just, with extras, where they wanted their kid to be like, hey, it's my kid, and he's gonna be a star, and this is so, and I already saw how the adults were ready to. So yeah, my eyes started getting really far and wide.
Yeah. And
then a moment that really hit me spiritually was watching Farley.
Okay.
Farley comes to host, and before he came to host,
for those that don't know, there might be some youngins.
Chris Farley.
Please Google him. Hilarious. Go ahead, Jim.
Chris Farley was hilarious. All right. And he's come to the show, and I'm thinking, oh man, me and Chris, after we work this weekend, we're gonna do it. And at the time, I do like one hitters pod, or Tracy Morgan, maybe do what he wasn't into that.
That was me last night. No big deal. Yeah.
So he comes into our office, Chris Farley, and he's like, hey man, I know you got the weed. And I said, I got a one hitter. I'll take the one hitter. And he blows it out. I'm like, hey, we're all hanging out. And Tracy had like a juice or whatever. And then we had to go in and we pitch our idea, and something's up. Chris is twitching, and he looks like he's on crack. And me and Tracy are looking at each other like, dude, that's not my weed. Like, I'm on the same thing. Like, what the fuck? Like, is that us right now? And
do we look like this right now? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what happened? So that led to one of the producers. Her name was Marcy Klein. She comes in our room, and she's like, what did you guys, I don't know what you guys did, but I'm telling you right now, this is a very dangerous, this is very bad. Like, whoa. She's like, all I know is he wants to hang out with you guys. And I'm telling you right now, there's no hanging out. We don't even know if he's going to live. I'm like, whoa, what? Like, what's going on right now? So he had handlers, and apparently there was a bad drug thing going on. He had a 24-hour nurse following him around.
And in his later days or in his peak?
No, this is a couple months before he died.
Okay.
And so she goes, if he calls, do not, you can't go out. I'm like, all right, I hear you loud and clear. No worries. The next night is when you got to write all day and all night and all that jazz. And I'll never forget this, man. It's the second time I saw the devil. I physically felt and saw the devil. The door knocks. My office door knocks. And I can't tell you, it's like 2:30 in the morning. And I felt this really dark energy. Really dark. And I opened the door. It's like a movie scene. I opened the door, and there's a woman there, like with dark hair. She's just looking at me. And she walks, doesn't even say hello. She comes in the office, walks by me, and just sits on our couch. I'm like, what the fuck? And then Chris comes in, and one other woman, and he dumps a bunch of stuff on my desk, and he starts, and I went, whoa. He's like, these are my friends, blah, blah, blah. You could tell they were the hookers or whatever they were. So I went down the hallway. I said, hey, man, Chris is in my room. And and they're like, yeah, we know it's bad. I'm like, it's bad. Like, you're gonna let him do the show? Like, this is bad. They're like, yeah.
That was the last time he
I
hosted, because I remember that show. And then he did the
Correct.
weather report. He
With
had a
me.
couple skits. He was all, bro. So I could tell something was wrong. But
He did the weather report with me.
yep,
He did El Nino.
El Nino. It was a great bit, but it's something was off. Yeah, for sure.
Well, long story short, Chris Rock was there, and I saw Chris. I'm like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "I'm here just in case." But what it hit me was, if this was my best friend, if this was my brother, if this was my child, and I'm not saying this to the Farley family or whatever, I'm just telling you my experience, experience.
Of course.
This has nothing to do with them, all right? Because life is what it is and what we know, and we don't know until we're in it and blah, blah.
Yes.
But from my experience, it was the first time I saw humanity as just a product. And they're willing to get the ratings.
To kill
If
him.
my child was in this predicament, and everyone there knew, everyone, the producers knew, the Lorne Michaels knew, everybody knew. And not
You're probably
one
giving it to him. I'm just saying it out loud. Maybe I'm saying, but
not one human being was able to go, "Hey man, we ain't doing this week."
Yeah.
But we can. I don't care how much money we lose. I don't care how much the movie producers lose because we're not advertising for our big money to come out. We spent 10 million on them. We spent 100 million on the film. This son of a bitch has to pull this off and promote so I can get my money back. Correct. It's all based on money. And 4 months later, he's dead. And I'll never forget, he called me that week on a Thursday.
Wow.
Well, it was either Wednesday. It might have been a Wednesday. And he called me Wednesday night after the read-through. And my friend was over the house. It was probably like 11:30, 12. In New York City, we don't go out till like 11, 12.
Right.
And my wife picked up the phone and she goes, "Jim, it's Chris Farley." I'm like, Chris Farley? She can't. I'm like, "I didn't give my number." She's like, "It's Chris Farley." Get on the phone. And I could he was with someone who I don't need to say he was with. I could tell who he was. I could tell who he was with. And I hear talking in the background, and he goes, "Jimmy, come on over. We're in the room. So and so's here, and so and so's here." And I went, "Chris." Now I already got talked to, and also seen. I went, "Chris, you got a long week, man. You got a really long week. I can't go, it's midnight, man." He's like, "Come on, man." I said, "Chris, no, man, you got a long week ahead of you. You start, it's going to be a fun week." And then all of a sudden he goes, "Hold on a minute." And he went into the bathroom and he cut the phone and he asked me in the most vulnerable way, "Am I funny?" And I went, "What do you mean?" Because am I funny or am I just fat, stupid guy? I went, "Chris, are you being serious?" And he goes, "Jimmy, seriously, am I funny? Like, or am I just a fat, stupid guy? Am I just a big, fat, stupid guy that everyone laughs at?" And he was so dead serious that here's this guy making $10 million, $12 million, one of the most loved comedians at the time.
Oh, I was a big fan. Yeah.
And he don't know who he is, and he's fighting a machine, a mirage of what the world wants him to be.
Oh man!
And I went, "Chris, listen to me. And I was dead serious. I'm like, "Listen to me. Before you came, the hairdresser, the cameraman, everyone said, 'You, Jim Breuer, you're gonna love Chris Farley. He's got a soul just like you.'" I'm like, "Really?" Because he used to go to the community church and he would volunteer. I'm like, "What?" If he talked to it, he's the most genuine human being you've ever met. Like, what? And I'm telling Chris, he's like, I did used to do that. Oh my God. I used to go to St. Blah, blah, blah. And I said, how would I? He's like, are you lying? I said, Chris, how would I know that?
Yeah.
How would I know that? I go, I'm telling you, people love you. Are you just saying that? Oh, I can't get a girl. I got to pay for a hooker. I said, Chris, I'm being honest with you. So I remember then seeing all the sketches were big, fat, dumb guy. And
Yeah, it was created that way. And I think that's why it hit him like, is this all I am? That sucks.
I started like really feeling, and then I'll never forget when the week was over, I was haunted. Because he reached out for honesty and he said, you're honest. And he goes, dude, I could cry talking about it.
Sorry.
I start going, I felt him. And I told my wife, I said, hun, I can't get Chris out of my mind. This is like 2 months later. I said, he needs someone right now, like right now. I can't fight this.
You felt that he was right on the
I
cusp.
felt it was almost, and that's why I started. I know it sounds corny when I say I look at Star Wars and they say the Force and blah blah. I believe we all have that. When you feel someone in your life, you're like, you just like, you know what? Let me tell. Are you okay? And they start, oh, I can't give me the call. You felt it. You feel it. It's Yoda going, there's a disturbance in the force. It's the same thing. It's in all of us. It's in us. And you got to nurture that. And I was feeling it. And I called my manager. I'm like, listen, I know this sounds crazy. I need Chris Farley's number like right now. He's like, oh man, I'm like, just get me the number, please. Saturday Night Live was off for a week, so I couldn't, no one was in the office. I'm trying to call people. It's 3 days later. I don't have the damn number. I finally call my manager again. I'm like, hey man, I'm not fucking around. He's like, what's going on? I said, I need to talk to Chris Farley. I don't know why. I feel like he needs an honest friend right now. And then he died. That day is when I heard he died. Now, I don't feel guilty about it, but what I got out of that was, don't ever again underestimate that feeling when it comes especially to another human and humanity. And yes, these feelings, this spirit exists. It exists. And I saw even after the show, the group, they were all demons. I won't say the names. I think one may have. They're demons. They're still around. They're still in the TV world. And I looked at each one of them, and they're demons.
Yeah, I have a good guess on who they are, and I won't even guess. But I just, in my mind at that time and point of time on Saturday Night Live, I kind of have a guess, and you could tell me.
They were not cast members.
You could. Oh, they weren't cast members.
They were not cast members.
Okay. All right. So you could tell me off air, because I would have been way wrong in my mind then. But
they were not. I want to make that clear. They were not cast members. They were not past cast members. If they were, I don't remember. They were.
You can just leave it at that. No, you can just leave it at that. They weren't that. They weren't that.
That's one actor, comedian, one just all in that world. But demons. They look like little demons, and they were just on him. They were stuck in his blood like vampires. And it's
I mean, so right then and there, you probably had a hang up on Hollywood, a hang up on the industry, a hang up.
Oh, I had it before that. Okay. I had it before that.
But that was a big spark. I would assume a big.
That was one of those great awakenings.
Yes. Yeah.
Great spiritual awakenings. I already was there.
Yeah.
But this was a reconfirm. It was reconfirmed, and then, I had some extremely, very deep, powerful talks with Chappelle.
Of course.
I want to say that man partially saved my life.
Okay.
And what I mean by that, when we were filming Half Baked, he was always under a lot of stress. And we would talk about David like, man, I can't put my finger on it. It's like an evil presence, man. They're always trying. I said, I know. And I won't get into the deeper of, who he thought was ruling everything. It's been said and done, and you're not allowed to talk about it, along with many other things. And
my audience knows, trust me. But go ahead.
They know. What did Kanye say?
They know.
Mel Gibson, watch yourself.
Yeah.
And Dave during Half Baked, I started blowing up. I mean, this is before Half Baked came out. So Saturday Night Live, boom, 2 hit. I got the hit characters. Boom, boom, boom. Here comes movie. I'm on this ladder in Hollywood. And now I'm already getting ready to develop another film that's a Jim Brewer project. And he came up to me. I'll never forget it. He's exhausted. And he goes, Jim, man, be careful, man. I see the way they're looking at you. You next. And I went, what do you mean? He goes, be careful, man. Be careful. They're coming for you. And I will never forget that moment. I can't describe the spiritual emotion that was going, the unspoken emotions that were going on at that moment.
I can imagine.
Because Dave was so innocent, yet so brilliant. An observer of life and energy that was beyond anyone I've ever met. And when I started seeing it, like I've seen things where people are brought to remote dinners in the middle of nowhere on the highest top of a building that's not even developed. It's straight out of a movie, and you're like, what
the fuck, man?
And what did they offer you? And so, and now I watch certain individuals unfolding now.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
And finding their spiritual selves where I'm like, I don't know if you're repenting or someone came to talk to you, but I do remember you were pretty hierarchy of some powerful dark energy, bro.
Yep.
Wow. And so
makes you wonder. It feels like it's one of those things where, especially in 2023, it's like you could pick any celebrity out of a hat. They're either against the establishment or they're with them. There can't be. Do you agree that
which is a brilliant
in the middle anymore? There's really no in the middle anymore, man.
I will say this, and I saw this piece out there, and I did a radio show years ago. It was called BREUER Unleashed. It was on satellite radio, and we had Rogan on, and friend, and
sure,
Joe came on this one time, and I'll never forget it. He said it was so prolific, powerful. It was so moving. It was like a new scripture was written. I'm just being honest.
Sure.
And I'll never forget. I was telling my friends, like, don't interrupt him. Just let him go. And he talked about how we're moving into the world where only truth will prevail.
Yeah.
The liars will be they're diseased, they're leeches, they're vampires. They will be exposed. They will no longer be accepted. And we are about to rise into the world of truth. And I know it's on YouTube I know it's out there because the first thing we did was I turned to my program. I went, dude, take that whole Rogan saying and put Pink Floyd about it and stick it on the internet. And it was before like the internet. I said in 15, 20 years from now, people will be able to listen to that go, damn, wow. Matter of fact, now you got me. I got to look for it.
Nice.
But
Hey, if you can find it, I'll throw it on. I'll.
it's
put it
got to
on.
be. Well, I'll look. It's 100% out there. It's got to be. We put it out there.
We'll find it. I'll
But
show the audience. Yeah.
That is also one of those moments in time where I was like, it was way before this whole energy started coming. And it just reconfirms what you said earlier, where it is the separation.
Yep.
You want to stick with the Matrix, the nonsense, the lying, the Roman Empire. You want to work to Friday, and Saturday's your ball game, and you wait all year for your big Super Bowl, and
2 weeks of vacation a year with your family.
Like 2 weeks of vacation a year, and you take 3 pills a day, and you get your injections and whatever it is, and fine. But we see it completely differently now.
It is, and that draw, for me at least in my mind, that draw in the sand to split the world of conscious people like us, of aware and awakened and knowledgeable, and we teach others as well. We educate others in different forms, and then the ones that are all in with it, they love it all. They want to be more part of the Matrix. I think 9/11 for me was that day.
That was a biggie.
And people go, no, Gulf of Tonkin, no, JFK, no, this, that, all these other weird.
Well, maybe for others, maybe there were people that were waking up way back then. And imagine that. Imagine if you knew about JFK way back in the day. People thought you were lunatic. Like, how dare everyone knows that us? We watched it with our own 2 eyes. And that's another thing with people. I would try to explain to people, when you have that much power, that I can show you a video, whether it's real or not, it could look real, reality TV, and you will believe all of it. Imagine back then how much power they had. They could sell whatever they want.
Exactly. And most people don't know that the JFK assassination, that video, that didn't come out a day after. That didn't even come out a week after. It was how many, was it years, right? So long. I heard it was 10 years, but I don't know if that's verifiable. It was so long after that they showed the public the footage. Who knows what the fuck we're watching there, man? Who really, why would you wait that long? If it is 10 years, maybe it was a year. I don't really remember, but
let's say it was a couple months.
It shouldn't even be that long.
That's
really.
That's plenty of time.
Yeah, you're right. No, my bad. Yeah, you're right. That's plenty of time to do whatever you want, but it was a long time.
Plenty of time to create whatever you want the world to see. Now, let me ask you this. Are you in on, if we're going to go conspiracy, are you in on the theory that JFK knew about New World Order, secret societies, and faked his death? And that was beginning of the deeper world, spiritual and monster fight of the worlds, where he actually faked his death. He didn't die until recently. Junior then faced his death. And they are the power of that's right now going against the globalists versus whatever. Because JFK Jr. said something very fascinating to me when I started getting to Junior. He said, and I don't know the exact quote, I just remember how it ended.
Sure.
And he said, I will expose the killers of my father, or the ones that tried to kill him or were plotting to kill him, even if it takes bringing down my own government.
Oof.
That's a powerful statement for someone.
And then we all know how JFK disappeared. So that's always been a mystery to me. I've never looked into it. I know Eddie used to get into that back in the day more. I don't know much about the whole JFK Jr. thing. And when QAnon came up and all that, I was intrigued at first, but then I kind of closed that door because I was like,
yep.
I mean, come on, man. I can't advertise anyone saving us. You have to save yourself.
Yeah,
Number one, period.
That's right.
So that's why I'm like, I don't even want to open that door. I peeked, I looked, and I actually looked. And you know what I looked at the most?
I did the same thing. Yeah.
What I looked at the most with the QAnon thing, and or even with Trump or anything else, JFK Jr. It was a fun conspiracy. It's a nice hopeful one, of course. If someone's against that being true, what's wrong with you? There's something wrong with you. If you I know it's let's call it 90% BS. Doesn't matter. That 10%, you should still want the 10% to win that battle, even if this is a fake stage psyop, QAnon, blah blah blah. Okay, granted. But what I did, Jim, is I looked at it from a different perspective. I go, let's go back. You got JFK Jr. Again, the whole theory, JFK Jr., Trump, and all these people, they met a long time ago and they planned this. This is a 30-year plan, a 50-year plan. Who knows? It's a huge war going on. This was strategically planned. And I go, you know what? Now that you mention it, do you know who lived with Trump for multiple years?
Who's that?
Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So that was the only benefit. That was the only, when I opened that QAnon door, I go, if Michael ain't in there, it makes no sense to me. I mean, if you want to get goofy with a conspiracy, that's the one to do it with for me, because it's so many, it's just all over the place. And then you got
they defended him. I feel like
correct. Trump defended him. Trump's son defended him. JFK Jr. loved Mike. They have photos together and everything. And I looked at Michael Jackson, what CNN gave us as his last time talking. It was a slurred speech. He was on drugs. I think Michael made that on purpose, but that's me.
And see, there you go.
And he was already out of here, but he gave it to him, and it was. But no one listens to what he actually said that last day. And it was not verbatim. Okay. I'm going to do something that the Beatles have never done and Elvis couldn't pull off. Now people go, well, you can't say that. It has to do with faking your death because Elvis, but Beatles, that's what throws it off. I go, does it now? Didn't Paul McCartney die? We don't remember this rumor. We don't remember that whether he did or didn't. Why would Mike have to? That's your final speech, and you're on drugs, and you're talking about you're going to do something Elvis never did, and the Beatles have never done, and you're going to do this huge thing, and it's going to be the Michael Jackson World Tour, comeback tour. All the stuff he was saying, it didn't make sense when I watched it in 2009, but looking now, and I'm like, that's so fucking cryptic. Holy shit. It's so cryptic. And then you look at the CNN death of Michael Jackson. You got forgot his name, Robert David Steele, I believe. God rest his soul. He was one of the whistleblowers for the CIA that exposed NASA. He exposed the trafficking stuff. He was a big, if you look up Robert David Steele, you probably have heard of him or seen him before in something. He's gone now, unfortunately. But from some stuff people sent me a few years back, it was him talking about the LA coroner's office.
I have a simple
She told him Michael was never brought in that day. And as far as I know, he's still here this is from her mouth. He's still here in the flesh. He's the one in charge of the trafficking, reversing this trafficking ring, the war going on. It's Michael and others behind the scenes. Nobody's going to know about it. Nobody knows what's going on. It's a far stretch. I'm sure my audience is like, shut the fuck up. But I'm just saying.
Well, no, there's two weird things there. All right, the first one I'm going to tell you, the thing that tripped me out was You know the magazine George?
Oh yeah.
How do you explain that one episode where they said the future and it's 2020 and it says world domination by Bill Gates?
Yep.
Hillary Clinton finally prosecuted. And it had the background of full moon in front of the presidents in what do you call it? What was it, Utah or whatever? I don't know if I got it.
Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. Yeah.
4th of July. And 4th of July that year was all about Bill Gates. There was and it was a full moon at Mount Rushmore, and Trump was speaking there.
How easy.
And I'm like,
yeah, crazy.
And you know what blew me away too? It's like, I don't.
It's hard to trust. It's weird because it's like, can you really trust someone like Donald Trump? No. And to me, no. But that doesn't mean that he's.
Well, I'm not saying that to say like he's part of some. I'm referring to that magazine, like, oh, yeah, like it's a full moon. It's out Mount Rushmore, Bill Gates, like, and everything that they wrote, it was like, let's look at this in the future. Like, how do you know that's going to be 20, 25 years down the road? Like, is this that well scripted? Is it that well scripted?
Exactly. Is it that well scripted, and is that well? How could it be established that the other side would allow this timeline to play out? It's like it gets so weird because you don't know. It's like that's when you start trusting do you distrust your own senses at that point? You can't keep calling everything a coincidence, and it gets to a point where it is, especially in a situation like you just explained. How can that match up? I look at it the same way as how can The Simpsons animate something before it happens?
Right. What did they know?
Also, Jim,
how did they get the script? And how deep in the script are they?
That's very true. And it makes you question it all. But like, look at it from a perspective of, you brought up Star Wars earlier. Perfect example. What did, at least in your mind, close your eyes and now you're in the 80s, just to help your mindset. And you're watching Star Wars. What did he say? What did Darth Vader say to Luke at the end there? Luke. What was the famous? Yeah, Luke,
I'm your father.
Luke, I am your father, right?
I am your father.
Yeah, but Luke, but you do know that Luke, I am your father was never said in the movie.
What does he say? Well,
they changed it. It's no, I am your father. Huh? What are you talking about? So it's people say a Mandela effect. That's a very targeted terminology.
Mandela effect. Yeah. A Mandela effect, right?
It's a targeted word for something's up. I don't know. It's one of those words where you Google Mandela effect and you see a Ford logo. Get the fuck out of here. We all know that the guy, dude, I was never a bully, but we would mess with a kid Luke in school. I'm your father, Hey, Luke, Luke, out of fun. Yeah. Why didn't I do that to Tobias or to David? Or why didn't I say those? Because the line was Luke.
The line, Luke.
And I got a newspaper subscription years ago. I still keep it because of how great it is. Anything you could type in hot dog and see a coupon in 1910 in a newspaper for hot dogs. It's a newspaper thing where it has everything. Okay. And you type in Luke, I am your father. There's thousands of newspapers printed saying the quote of the year is Luke, I am your father. And you can just keep going from there. It's all over the place. But yet, if you have the original VHS tape that you always owned your whole life, and you pop it in, it says, no, I'm your father. So
no, I'm your father.
We don't get that. That's one of those things where it's like, people want to hang that up because of Mandela effect. It sounds stupid. It's already been, tormented. It's like when someone says, hey, the earth's flat, and then they think of a pancake in space and a boat falling off. No one
Yeah.
fucking ever said that that's what it is, but that's what they
Right.
want you to think it is. So same with Mandela effect. They want you to think of some stupid thing and you rule it off. I can't rule off these things. And I feel like people need to, there's something going on. We all
There's
accept that Matrix is a documentary, Jim. Everybody can,
yes,
like us, can go,
yes,
yeah, I'll give you that. What if Back to the Future was a documentary? You know, no one
right,
looks at that.
right,
The way the Western was brought to us, anyways, that's why the third one's a Western. They created that movement.
right,
That
right.
shit never took place. I think it's important in the series for people to go, because the third one always throws people off. That one's kind of lame. The Western one. No, they're telling you that they had to go back, create this system to come back in time and say, hey, that was your history. But that was never our history. There was no Western. You're telling me these monumental castles were designed for giants, it looked like, built for giants with men on horse and buggy?
Right.
No. So I've always said Back to the Future might be a documentary, man. Maybe they can go tune into a frequency and I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
here's some interesting things too. Again, I go back to Star Wars before they were bought out by Disney. Scenes that blew my mind that just go over your head. The Clone Wars.
My memory's foggy of the film, but I'm sure
Well,
everyone watching
there was a section that I didn't enjoy, and that's when they went back to when Obi-Wan was younger.
Mm.
And when Obi-Wan was younger, they're showing when Darth Vader, how he's a child. All right, so they're going back, and that's where they're starting. Obi-Wan is looking for a planet or a galaxy that he knows. I forgot, like there's something bad going on. He has to get. You want to find your answer? You got to go to blah 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 galaxy. He's like, oh, I used to be there. Whatever, I'll go. He goes there and he can't find it. It's nowhere. It's nowhere on the spectrum. So he goes to the ultimate library of information, and he goes. She's like, can I help you? And he goes, I'm looking for this galaxy, and it used to be between, here and here. And she's like, what is the name of it? But he goes, it does not exist. And he went, no, I've been there. I know it exists. He goes, it is not in our system. Therefore, it does not exist. That statement hit me so hard. That is the future, which is like, nope, didn't exist. So then what he does, he goes to Yoda, who's the ultimate, like Yoda's the ultimate energy. He can feel everything, and he's for the good. He's the good force. And he goes to Yoda, and Yoda's teaching children how to use the force, how to use energy, how to control energy, how to make things move, and he walks into a whole class. And he goes, Master Yoda. And he's like, children, 1 second. This is Obi-Wan Kenobi. He was one of our students. He is a whatever, a force, blah, blah. He goes, what is it? He goes, Master Yoda, I have to get to this solar system, and I know this planet exists because and I've been there, but I went to the main place and it wasn't in their system, and it doesn't exist. I'm so confused. And Yoda turns to the children. He goes, class, Obi-Wan seems to have an issue, whatever he says, right? He goes, tell the children, he seems to have lost a planet that he knows exists, but it no longer is in the system. What do you think might have happened? And one kid goes, he goes, someone erased that program. And Yoda goes, the mind of a child, so pure, so innocent, still full of wisdom. And then now he finds the planet. And this is what I'm talking about today, where you hear clones and all this stuff. He's pretending he's someone else. And the planet, the leader of the planet is like, oh my God, we've been waiting for you. You're going to love the work we've been doing. And he's like, what work are we doing here? And they show hundreds of kids, all just like in school, they're all clones. And he goes, we're almost prepared for the entire clone war. We have thousands of clone soldiers. We're just waiting for you when to launch the war. And he goes, okay, well, hold off for a second. Wow. And that makes me think of where we could go as a society if we're not even close to being there.
Yeah. And you know what, for me, in my awakening and understanding of the world, I hopefully my audience doesn't hit stop when I say this. Let me finish the sentence. I think Star Wars could be a documentary too, in a sense, and I'll tell you why. Now, obviously, for me and my audience, we know there's no, you ain't going anywhere up there, but in terms of unlimited resources, unlimited planets, unlimited areas, I feel as if, especially with a lot of these ancient maps that have been coming out the last couple of years, and that's, it's my forte, but there's so many maps, Jim, of not only our plane that we live on here with all of our continents, okay, with the oceans being held in by a higher basin called Antarctica, but I mean, you could just anyone can just go look at what Admiral Byrd said, okay, BYRD, and this is on live TV in the 50s. He was on Longines Chronoscope, and he was the first guy to go over there because they couldn't get in by ship. They flew over there. They flew over that ice shelf, whatever you call it. And when he came back on live TV and said, yeah, there's another continent over there the size of North America, and no one's ever stepped foot on. What is going? And they're like, whoa, hold on, okay, cool. He died right away. I mean, they suicided. That was an old school suicidal. But then they go, hey, we got a United Nations meeting right away. Let's have an Antarctic treaty so nobody can go over there ever again. Now that treaty's been in place since '58, and it doesn't expire from that day. They signed, what was it, 2043 or 20 in the 2040s.
It expires.
Yeah, that's when it expires, apparently. I'm sure they'll extend it. But
when's it supposed to expire?
In 2040 something. But that's from 1958. They said in 2040 that we'll revisit this. Nobody's going over there or over there or over there. And then I think they discovered way more. I mean, possibly more worlds, more lands, more humanoids, more beings, advanced technology, advanced civilizations. Who knows how long they've fucking been there? Maybe who knows if there's giants 30,000 miles straight that way. I don't.
Why aren't you allowed to go there?
There you go. And that's the only thing when someone's like, no, they just, because they love their ball Earth so much, they want to fight them. Like, look, man, the ball Earth is not your mother. So please stop acting like it is. I'm just trying to make an example here to say, at least give me the chance to go prove myself wrong for you before you judge, because we can't go over there and check. That's a red flag, brother. I don't know. For me, but here's the last part of the timeline, Jim. Yeah. After Byrd got back, said what he said.
Who?
Admiral Byrd.
The guy.
Richard Admiral Byrd. He came back after went over there and saw more land and more resources, more animals, warm conditions. What? So they start the treaty. Then the initial 12 countries signed, of course, and then everybody else followed. Mostly everybody else followed, and then NASA starts. And people don't know that the timeline is real. You don't have to believe my format, but that's the actual timeline. Then they're like, now what? No one can go there, but what are we supposed to do now?
No one, right.
But they're like, dude, those are just lights in the sky. People are for thousands of years, blah, 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 blah. No, not for thousands of years. Right. Yeah, your story of a guy with a stick and shadow, that was 2,000 years old. Because you made that in 1910. You created the story, in my opinion. and said, this guy lived 2,000 years ago. Here's an artist impression, put it in all the schools. Now, obviously, Rockefeller started the Board of Education, so we know how that played out. But it's one of those things where for me,
And medicine.
and petroleum-based medicine. So he came in to say, hey, you don't have to push my school books, but if you don't, good luck. And those ones that said fuck off, they're all closed. Of course, they were probably all closed that year and shut down. So now we have this universal educational system where we're still taught the same books today. Nothing's changed.
Right.
No part of history's changed. No part's been altered. They just have these created things. We're all taught it. You were taught it. I was taught it. And that's it. And I think that's why they get us at 5 years old. Why are you teaching a 5-year-old that you live on a basketball? And they go, what? I want a cookie. And they're like, yeah, it's okay. Have your cookie, but don't question this. And we're not going to teach this to you outside of 5th grade. Once you're done with 5th grade, that's the end. You won't ever hear. Can you imagine a senior in high school right now having a class with a science teacher and the science teacher saying, no, let's talk about some curvature today? There'd be suspensions that week. Well, hold on, because everyone's heard something by now. It's 2023, but that's my point. They don't teach us any of this in school. And we had someone that was 100, and she's 105 now, very sharp. Her name's Rose Heath. But at the time we interviewed her, she was 102 years old. Okay. We asked her, we were talking about the World's Fairs and all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then my buddy Dave Weiss brings up, hey, what were you taught in school about the Earth? She goes, well, it was flat. You know,
flat.
Sun, moon, and stars rotating. Well, were you taught it was a ball? She's like, no, not when I was growing up. No, it just kind of was a new thing. I'm like, wait, hold on. This is new.
Yep.
So I start to put everything together, but the biggest key for me is it's a lot. I know a lot of flat earthers are like, they're hiding the creator. That's why. I'm like, that's a big part of it, because that guarantees we're created, right? It guarantees it. There's no more maybe
Big Bang.
no.
Yeah, right.
You know,
right.
but for me, man, it's always been that in the 40s, Captain Cook tried to explore Antarctica, and he went in by ships. They went by ships. They didn't know what to expect, and they couldn't get in. But the problem is that people don't look at how many miles he charted for that circumnavigation. Okay, you can circumnavigate. I can walk around you. You're not a sphere, so they're just going around and coming where they started from. But Captain Cook, not me, and not conspiracies.com didn't chart this. He did, and he said he went over 60,000 miles before he came back to where he started from. 60,000. I thought it was a little splooge. A little cum stain on the bottom of a basketball. That's 60. I thought the circumference is 24,000 equator. What are we talking about? 60,000 miles, and he couldn't get in. What are you talking about? That's a fact. So then they said, Admiral Byrd, take the planes over. Good luck, man. You're the best guy we have in the world with this. Go over there and see what happens. He comes back and he's like, whoo. And then there was rumors that they leaked his diary. They tried to ban that diary from coming out because they sent him to the north, and that ain't no sheet of ice, brother. He wrote. Now this is a far push in the sense of trying to speak it into reality, because it's like, what? But he's talking about giants. He was talking about I think like a black sun down there. I don't know what that whole thing was. Fucking like, what the fuck is he talking about? That to me, I don't like to bring it up, but it's like, maybe he was telling the truth, Jim. I don't know. But you can agree at least that we should be able to go fucking check the north and go check the south and find out for ourselves what is going on. Because you imagine that there's 1,000 continents? Just imagine.
Well, which then let's say there is.
Yeah.
Which I'm open to all of it. It is bizarre that they won't let you go there, and it is bizarre that's the only place in the world where all different countries gathered, all their officials are neutral there.
And every telescope, every major telescope is pointing to where there would be more land, either them coming in or someone getting out. They're not pointing up. None of these telescopes people love, none of them are pointing up for you. They're pointing out.
Yeah, you're right.
Out, and again, it's in the name. They're you know how they are with names. They make sense. They say it for a reason. Outer.
Right.
Space.
Outer space. That's
Not
right.
Upper.
Outer.
The outer lands. The outer lands. And what would you call someone from the outer lands where there's extra terrain and extra territory.
That's
An
right.
extraterrestrial coming to visit us from outer space could take an hour flight,
That's right.
maybe 5 hours,
Maybe
not
5 hours.
37 trillion light years away. Good luck. Good luck.
Those stars are 3 years old. They are? You're looking at things that were 3 years ago. I am? How do you know that? Because they found that out, like, what? I remember being told that, where I still look at it, I'm like, it's the same stars, man.
Same
Like,
stars
none
your
of them
grandma
died
had,
out.
her grandma, and her grandma, brother.
So none of them died out, and they're all still 3 years away. Okay, so they're 3 years away. Okay, all right, sure. That was 3 years ago. I'm looking at something 3 years ago. Okay, what other dumb thing you want me to believe that you have zero proof of?
I know.
Just because someone said it with a lab coat. Oh,
And
okay.
And I'm glad that you understand where I'm coming from.
100%. So let me ask you this.
Sure.
Now I need a nap.
That's
fine. When you have these conversations, you're like,
I get it a lot from people, but I love questions. What do you got?
Here's how we're gonna wrap this up.
No worries. Yeah, we are getting late. We got to go soon, guys, but let's go.
Which I ask everyone. What do we do with all this information?
Well, we all have different paths in life, and we all have our main focus on things. Like I could pick on Joe Bauman. His main focus is saving the children. I think we can all respect that. Some people's main focus is to eliminate any more jabs from going and killing our brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and daughters and sons. Okay. So that's our main, and everyone has a pure heart. My main focus, although it always has been the children and always will be, it's still about, let's go collectively and go see what is over there. Because if we can get out of this, and I always bring up Iron Republic. If someone likes to read books, I don't. Yeah. I did the audiobook on the plane. It's okay. I did the audiobook on the plane, and tell you, man, it changed my life. It's called Iron Republic. It's self-encountered eyewitness testimony story. It was published in the Florida Gazette in 1901, but I think this man wrote the actual stuff that he went through in the late 1800s, and it was published 1901. They were sick of the tyrannical nature of the states. Does that sound familiar? Right. So they're just sick of what's going on. Him and his crew get together, big ships, and let's just fucking go. I don't know where we're going to land in Africa. We're just going to get out of here, man. And hopefully we find a new island, or who knows. They get lost. They get lost. They know it's getting icy cold. They don't know what's going on. Where's the North Star? And they're all over the place. And they stumble upon, I think it was many hours later, they stumble upon land. They're not knowing, are we in Africa? Are we in Guatemala? Right. Where the fuck are we?
Yeah.
Different looking people. Whoa. I think it's like, for me, I always make the example of the first, and this has nothing to do with race, but people know what I mean when I say this. It has nothing to do with race. But the first time an Asian human saw an African American human,
they must have bugged out.
Whoa! No,
yes, that's like two different species looking at one another. Like, oh my God.
Doesn't matter who and who.
Each other out. You don't know.
What the fuck? So again, they stumble upon another piece of land, and they called themselves the Iron Republic. That's why he named the book that. But these people knew about, he goes, I'm from New York. They know about New York. But dude, in this book, Jim, whether people, that's a fake book. Okay, you can say it's fake. They're still talking about, they got flat screen TVs hanging over there. They got electric cars over there. They got aircraft they're out of control. Their technology was out of control. They probably had the internet, because there were some things they were writing about. They didn't know what to call it, but they had all the stuff over there. And he got back, and it was, dude, I'll tell you right now, man, that book, there's another book called Beyond the Poles. I mean, there's so many books from the 1800s, real books, not CNN covered, not Hollywood Week. No. Real books of people going, hey, there's a lot more land over there and so
not only land, but technology
that they probably steal. Yeah.
Energy.
I think that some of these spacecrafts, UFOs, whatever, they've been reverse engineered. Whether there is another humanoid or species that comes from under the ocean, I don't fucking know, or from the outer land. There could be another continent, 20,000 miles that way where the UFOs live. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I do know that man makes them now. These are man-made machines. They have patents. I got footage. Wait till Level With Me comes out. I have footage. These are all man-made machines, and of course, Blue Beam. We don't obviously. But it's about the man-made machines that they reverse engineered from someone else.
Yeah.
It's been reverse engineered. So, and you know about Project Bluebeam, obviously. So we don't have to get into that because that's another hour, as long as you know about it. But
I know about it.
I'll give you one piece of advice. Project Bluebeam is what they want you to call it. It's actually Operation Skybeam.
Ah.
Okay. So look into that when you're free.
I will.
But hey, Jim.
Sean.
Yeah.
This was fun.
I appreciate it. I hope everybody enjoyed this. I'm sure they did. You gave me way more time than you said. If you could stick with me 30 seconds after I sign off here, I'd appreciate it. But
no worries.
Yeah,
thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. I hope to have you back.
We will.
Since we
got some things we're working on.
Yeah, we do got some things. I was gonna leak a little bit of that, but you know what? We'll put a pause. Me and Jim are working on something, and again, we're talking about shifting consciousness. I think this will be a big part of it, in a really cool way. So,
dude, if I can leak for a second,
you can go ahead.
I showed a good friend of mine one of the things.
Yep.
And all I remember is he was like, "Yeah, man." I said, "I want to show you something I'm working on," and he went like this. Right? And then he goes like this. He goes, "Dude, bro, that's a mood changer." And he was for hours like, "Bro, that's too much to think." Wow, like he was blown out of his mind.
Imagine for a 5-minute thing could do that. Let's make multiples. That's all I hope so. What's next for you?
The BREUERverse weekly podcast, JimBrewer.com for tour dates. BREUERverse, completely different from my tour dates. Tour dates, strictly stand-up comedy. BREUERverse, we go everywhere and anywhere.
Oh, I love BREUER. We love BREUER. That's the #1 show right now.
Thank you.
Thank you
for coming on.
Research flatter.